Hello, history buffs. Today we are going on an exciting expedition through the chronicles of time. The conquest of Mount Everest, the world's highest peak, stands as a monumental achievement in the annals of human exploration and mountaineering. Located in the Himalayas on the border between Nepal and Tibet, Everest's formidable height, treacherous terrain, and unpredictable weather have challenged adventurers for centuries. This account delves into the historic events leading up to the conquest of Mount Everest, the pioneering expeditions, the brave men and women who risked their lives to reach its summit, and the lasting impact of their triumphs and tragedies. Background: Mount Everest, known as Chomolungma, or Goddess Mother of the World, to the local Tibetan population, and Sagarmatha, or Forehead of the Sky, to the Nepalese, stands as a testament to nature's indomitable majesty. Standing at an awe-inspiring height of approximately 29,031.7 feet, 8,848.86 meters, this mountain, the highest peak on Earth, is located in the Mahalangur Himal subrange of the Himalayas, straddling the international border between Nepal and the Tibetan Autonomous Region of China. The formidable allure of Everest is inextricably interwoven with its extreme altitude, geological grandeur, and cultural significance. Geographically, Everest is part of a vast mountain range formed over millions of years as the Indian tectonic plate pushed northwards into the Eurasian plate. The seismic activity resulting from this collision caused the uplift that formed the mighty Himalayas, including Everest, in a process that continues to this day. The mountain's cultural significance is equally rich and multifaceted. For centuries, Everest has been revered in local folklore and mythos. The Sherpa people of Nepal regard the mountain as the dwelling place of Mylangzangma, a Tibetan Buddhist goddess of inexhaustible giving. The Rongbuk Monastery near Everest Base Camp in Tibet further attests to the mountain's spiritual significance, acting as a place of pilgrimage and reverence. In the West, the fascination with Everest began somewhat later, around the mid-19th century. British surveyors in India, under the auspices of the Great Trigonometrical Survey, sought to measure the entire Indian subcontinent. It was during this meticulous scientific endeavor that the mighty peak was labeled Peak XV and later officially named Mount Everest in 1865. After George Everest, the Surveyor General of India from 1830 to 1843. The Western fascination with Everest, however, transcended mere cartographical interest. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the mountain was imbued with notions of the sublime, that mix of awe, grandeur, and terror that so captured the romantic imagination. Everest was a symbol of the ultimate frontier, the last great challenge to human courage, endurance, and technological prowess. Thus, it became a symbol of a much broader cultural narrative, that of mankind's quest to conquer the seemingly unconquerable, to triumph over nature's most daunting obstacles. In this context, Mount Everest has been more than just a mountain. It has been a testament to our shared human history, a symbol of our collective ambitions and fears, a measure of our scientific progress, and a mirror reflecting back our reverence and respect for the natural world. From its geological origins to its cultural significance, from its religious reverence to its position as a global symbol of exploration and adventure, Mount Everest's story is one interwoven with human aspiration and endurance. It is these aspects, in all their historical complexity and richness, that we will explore in the ensuing chapters. Early expeditions and challenges. The early fascination with Mount Everest, as we've established, was intricately linked with notions of exploration, conquest, and scientific discovery. The initial expeditions that targeted the Everest summit in the late 19th and early 20th centuries were inherently ambitious, daring, and fraught with danger and unpredictability. The first recorded attempts to reach Everest's summit were made by British mountaineers, due in large part to Britain's colonial presence in India. British curiosity about the Himalayas had been piqued in the 1850s during the Great Trigonometrical Survey. However, the first serious thoughts of scaling Everest did not emerge until the early 20th century. Before discussing the specifics of the initial expeditions, it is critical to consider the daunting challenges these pioneers faced. In many ways, these early Everest explorers ventured into the unknown, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and endurance. Technological limitations were a significant challenge. The equipment available to these early climbers was, by today's standards, rudimentary. Their clothing was woefully inadequate for the brutal conditions at high altitudes, often consisting of multi-layered wool and silk rather than the advanced, lightweight, insulating materials climbers use today. Oxygen systems, when they were used, were heavy and unreliable. Primitive climbing equipment, such as basic rope, ice axes, and hobnailed boots, was the norm. The climbers lacked sophisticated weather forecasting technology, leaving them at the mercy of Everest's unpredictable and often perilous weather. Speaking of weather, it was, and remains, one of Everest's most formidable challenges. Temperatures can plunge to below -60 degrees Celsius, and hurricane-force winds whip the mountain, especially above 8,000 meters in the so-called death zone. Avalanches and sudden storms are a constant threat. These early expeditions often underestimated or were simply unprepared for Everest's meteorological extremes. The third major obstacle was the physiological challenge that high-altitude environments pose to human beings. As altitude increases, available oxygen decreases, leading to hypoxia, a lack of sufficient oxygen for bodily tissues to function effectively. This can result in acute mountain sickness, high-altitude cerebral edema, HACE, or high-altitude pulmonary edema, HAPE, all potentially fatal conditions. The effects of reduced oxygen levels on the human body were not fully understood in the early 20th century, leading to many cases of altitude sickness and contributing to several fatalities. Now, turning to the early expeditions, the first official British expedition to Everest was launched in 1921, led by Lieutenant Colonel Charles Howard Berry. This expedition was primarily a reconnaissance mission intended to survey the region and find a feasible route to the summit. This expedition also marked the first use of supplemental oxygen in mountaineering, although the technology was in its infancy and of questionable efficacy. Subsequent British expeditions in 1922 and 1924 pushed further, reaching unprecedented heights but failing to achieve the ultimate goal. Despite these setbacks, these initial ventures were far from futile. They significantly expanded our geographical knowledge of Everest, paved the way for future mountaineering techniques, and served as a testament to human courage and resilience. Thus, the early expeditions were characterized by a potent mix of audacious ambition, pioneering spirit, tragic loss, and invaluable learning. The formidable Everest remained unconquered, but the resolve of those striving to reach its summit was undimmed. This indomitable spirit laid the groundwork for the triumphs and tragedies to come in Everest's long and storied history. The 1924 expedition and the Mallory-Irvine mystery. The British return to Everest in 1924 marked a high-stakes and pivotal episode in the saga of the mountain's conquest. This third British expedition, led by Brigadier General Charles Bruce and Lieutenant Colonel Edward Lyle Strutt, was marked by unshakable resolve and dogged determination, bolstered by lessons from previous endeavors. At the heart of the expedition's narrative were two men: George Mallory, an experienced climber with 2 previous Everest expeditions under his belt, and Andrew "Sandy" Irvine, a young, enthusiastic, and exceptionally fit climber. Mallory, already a celebrated mountaineer, was a figure of intrigue and fascination. Known for his famous retort, "Because it's there," when asked why he wanted to climb Everest, Mallory represented the indefatigable spirit of the age. His partner, Irvine, though less experienced, was chosen for his exceptional strength and mechanical skills, the latter vital for handling the improved oxygen apparatus used in the expedition. The duo's final push for the summit began on June 8, 1924, from their highest camp, located at approximately 26,800 feet. They were seen at 12:50 p.m. that day, climbing determinedly toward the summit. This was the last confirmed sighting of Mallory and Irvine. Noel Odell, a geologist and fellow member of the expedition, observed them ascending what he believed to be the second step, a prominent feature on the northeast ridge, only a few hundred vertical meters from the summit. The enduring mystery surrounding their final climb stems from their disappearance in the clouds later that day, leaving their fate uncertain. Did George Mallory and Andrew Irvine become the first climbers to summit Mount Everest, nearly 3 decades before Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay's confirmed ascent in 1953? Compelling arguments have been made on both sides of the debate. On one hand, the pair's proven climbing prowess, Mallory's strong desire to reach the summit, and Odell's observation suggest that they may have reached the top. Mallory's body, found in 1999 by an expedition led by Eric Simonson, had severe rope jerk injuries, indicating a severe fall while roped, probably during their descent, which might suggest a successful summit. However, no definitive proof, such as a photograph at the summit, or the specialized climbing equipment needed to ascend the difficult second step, was found on Mallory's body. Irvine's body and camera, which could potentially confirm the summit, have never been definitively located, despite several targeted searches. Whether or not Mallory and Irvine reached the summit, their story has transcended mere historical fact. It has become a captivating narrative about human ambition, the relentless pursuit of a seemingly impossible goal, and the ultimate sacrifice in the face of an irresistible challenge. The 1924 expedition serves as a potent reminder of the Romantic era of mountaineering, where the spirit of adventure was often the most sophisticated tool in a climber's arsenal. Their legacy, etched onto the icy slopes of Everest, continues to inspire and intrigue climbers and historians alike, a testament to the enduring allure of the world's tallest peak. Technological advancements and the role of Sherpas. As the 20th century advanced, so too did technological progress in mountaineering and weather forecasting. These developments played an indispensable role in making the summit of Everest a more attainable goal. At the same time, the contribution of Sherpas, indigenous people from the mountainous regions of Nepal, began to receive due recognition for their vital role in Everest expeditions. Mountaineering technology, in the decades following the early attempts on Everest, underwent significant evolution. The most notable was the development of efficient and reliable high-altitude breathing equipment. The closed-circuit oxygen rebreathers of the early expeditions, prone to leaks and freezing, gradually gave way to more efficient open-circuit systems. By the 1950s, these systems had become lighter, more reliable, and able to deliver a higher flow of oxygen, dramatically increasing climbers' chances of surviving in the death zone. In tandem with improvements in oxygen systems, advances were made in climbing gear. Synthetic materials replaced traditional leather and wool, leading to lighter, more durable, and more weather-resistant clothing. Nylon tents, able to withstand the high winds and freezing temperatures on Everest, became standard. The invention of pitons, carabiners, and other climbing aids offered better safety and efficiency in challenging ascents. Modern crampons, with their superior grip, and ice axes, with their increased versatility, significantly improved climbers' ability to navigate Everest's icy slopes. Advancements in weather forecasting technology also improved the safety and success rate of Everest expeditions. Early climbers were at the mercy of Everest's unpredictable weather. However, the advent of satellite imagery, along with improvements in meteorological modeling, enabled far more accurate forecasting. This gave climbers vital information about when to push for the summit, increasing their chances of avoiding fatal storms. While technology played a significant role in conquering Everest, it's impossible to ignore the invaluable contribution of the Sherpas. These local mountaineers, acclimated to high altitudes and intimately familiar with the terrain, were indispensable to Everest expeditions. Sherpas served multiple roles, from setting up camps, carrying loads, and cooking, to fixing routes through treacherous icefalls and snowfields. In addition to their physical contribution, they offered invaluable local knowledge and experience, providing advice on weather patterns, possible routes, and when to push for the summit. In many cases, Sherpas also performed high-altitude rescues, saving many climbers from almost certain death. Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa who reached the summit with Edmund Hillary in 1953, became a symbol of the Sherpa community's vital contribution to Everest's history. Over time, many Sherpas have achieved significant mountaineering feats of their own, including Apa Sherpa and Furbatashi, who share the record for the most Everest ascents. The journey to conquering Everest was made possible through the combination of technological progress, the courage and resilience of climbers, and the invaluable assistance of the Sherpa community. These elements coalesce to open the path to the summit, transforming Everest from an impenetrable fortress in the sky into a mountain within reach of determined, well-prepared climbers. The 1953 successful summit and aftermath. The 1953 British Mount Everest expedition, led by Colonel John Hunt, marked a paradigm shift in the history of mountaineering. It was during this expedition that Sir Edmund Hillary, a beekeeper from New Zealand, and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa from Nepal, accomplished what had eluded many before them. They successfully reached the summit of Mount Everest on 29 May 1953. In many ways, the 1953 expedition epitomized the culmination of decades of advancement in mountaineering knowledge, technology, and expertise. It was meticulously planned, with a strong and diverse team of climbers, scientists, and support staff. The use of open-circuit oxygen systems, now matured and reliable, played a crucial role. John Hunt's military background also contributed to the expedition's successful organization and logistics. On the day of the summit attempt, Hillary and Tenzing set off from their high camp at the South Colonel. The duo faced a nearly vertical rock face, now known as the Hillary Step, in the final stages of their ascent. Hillary's innovative technique of wedging his way up a crack in the rock face paved the way for their final push to the summit. At 11:30 a.m. local time, they found themselves standing on the highest point on Earth, a moment that would forever etch their names in history. The news of Hillary and Tenzing's triumphant ascent reached the United Kingdom on the morning of 2 June, coinciding with the coronation of Queen Elizabeth I. The dual celebration elevated the public's jubilation, adding a layer of imperial pride to the crowning of the new monarch. Hillary and Tenzing were hailed as heroes worldwide. Hillary was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, and Tenzing received the George Medal, one of the highest civilian awards in the UK, for their achievement. Their faces graced the covers of magazines and newspapers, and their story was told and retold in books and films. They became symbols of human achievement, courage, and resilience. The 1953 expedition's legacy transcends the mountaineering world. It marked the triumph of human spirit over adversity, providing a much-needed beacon of hope and achievement in a post-World War I era marked by Cold War tensions. It boosted interest in mountaineering and outdoor adventure, inspiring generations of climbers to take on Everest and other formidable peaks around the world. The achievement also had a lasting impact on the Sherpa community. Tenzing's success highlighted the crucial role Sherpas played in Himalayan mountaineering, leading to increased recognition and opportunities for them. However, it also led to a growing commercialization of Everest, with both positive and negative consequences. In the final analysis, the 1953 Everest expedition stands as a landmark achievement in human history. The first successful ascent of Mount Everest was not just a victory for Hillary and Tenzing, or for the British team that supported them. It was a victory for humanity, a testament to our collective capacity to conquer the seemingly insurmountable through courage, cooperation, and the relentless pursuit of our dreams. Subsequent milestones. In the wake of Hillary and Tenzing's successful ascent, Mount Everest became an arena for numerous remarkable mountaineering milestones and a testament to human spirit and endurance. Each achievement reflected the changing times, showcasing advancements in technology, evolving societal norms, and the increasing commercialization of Everest expeditions. The first successful American expedition to Everest took place in 1963, a decade after the British achievement. The expedition was led by Norman Durenforth and included a team of climbers, scientists, and a documentary filmmaker. On May 1, 1963, James Whittaker, accompanied by Sherpa Ngambou, became the first American to reach the summit of Everest. Later in the same expedition, on May 22, Thomas Hornbein and Willie Unsold made the first ascent of the daunting West Ridge and completed the first traverse of a major Himalayan peak, descending down the South Col route. The year 1975 was a landmark one for women in mountaineering. On May 16, Junko Tabei of Japan became the first woman to reach the summit of Everest. Her feat debunked societal prejudices about women's ability to undertake high-altitude mountaineering and inspired a generation of female climbers. The late 1970s brought forth a new milestone: the first successful ascent without supplemental oxygen. On May 8, 1978, Reinhold Messner, an Italian mountaineer, and Peter Habeler, an Austrian climber, achieved what many believed was physically impossible. Their climb altered the discourse around high-altitude mountaineering and opened new possibilities for alpine-style ascents on the world's highest peaks. The first winter ascent of Everest occurred on February 17, 1980, by a Polish team led by Andrzej Zawada. The two climbers to reach the summit were Leszek Syci and Krzysztof Wielicki. The winter ascent demonstrated an extreme level of endurance and marked a significant achievement in high-altitude mountaineering. While these milestones were being achieved, the commercialization of Everest began to grow. The advent of commercial guiding operations in the 1980s and 1990s allowed people with less mountaineering experience, but sufficient financial resources to attempt to climb Everest. These commercial expeditions brought a dramatic increase in the number of climbers, leading to concerns about safety, environmental impact, and the changing ethos of high-altitude mountaineering. The presence of commercial expeditions on Everest also led to debates around the ethics and spirit of mountaineering, with purists arguing that commercialization detracts from the essence of mountaineering: self-reliance and communion with nature. However, proponents of commercial expeditions argue that they have democratized access to the highest point on Earth, allowing ordinary people to experience the extraordinary. The dark side of Everest. As the allure of Everest has grown, so too has its darker side come into stark relief. The escalating numbers of fatalities, environmental degradation, ethically complex rescue situations, and strains on the local Sherpa community are increasingly challenging the narrative of Everest as the ultimate symbol of human achievement. The increasing commercialization of Everest, particularly since the 1980s, has led to a rising number of climbers attempting the summit each year. This surge in traffic has, inevitably, resulted in an increase in fatalities. By 2023, over 300 climbers have lost their lives on Everest. Most deaths occur in the death zone, above 8,000 meters, where the lack of oxygen, extreme cold, and treacherous terrain make every moment perilous. Avalanches, falls, and altitude sickness are common causes of death, but many climbers also succumb to exhaustion and hypothermia. The ethical complexities of climbing Everest are nowhere more evident than in the death zone. In this harsh environment, where every breath is a struggle and each step saps one's energy, rescuing a fellow climber in distress is fraught with danger. High-altitude rescues are often impossible due to the physical limitations of climbers and the prohibitive risks involved. This harsh reality can lead to climbers passing by those in distress, an unsettling occurrence that has raised profound questions about the moral cost of summiting Everest. The environmental impact of Everest's popularity is another growing concern. Each season, climbers leave behind tons of waste, including empty oxygen cylinders, food packaging, and even human waste. Despite cleanup efforts and stricter regulations, Everest's slopes are struggling under this environmental burden. The melting glaciers, possibly linked to global warming, are revealing more waste and bodies each year, adding to the mountain's somber imagery. The increased traffic on Everest has also placed considerable strain on the Sherpa community. Despite improvements in pay and working conditions over the years, Sherpas continue to bear a disproportionate amount of risk in guiding climbers to the summit and maintaining the climbing routes. The 2014 avalanche tragedy, which claimed the lives of 16 Sherpas, highlighted these dangers and ignited debates about the ethics of Sherpa employment in the high-risk business of Everest expeditions. The inherent risks of climbing Everest were chillingly underscored by the 1996 disaster, one of the deadliest seasons on the mountain. That year, 15 people died attempting to climb Everest, 8 of them during a single storm on May 10 to 11. The tragedy was documented by Jon Krakauer, a journalist and mountaineer who was part of a guided expedition, in his book Into Thin Air. Krakauer's account paints a haunting picture of the unforgiving conditions, questionable decisions, and human frailty that led to the disaster. His book has since become a sobering testament to the extreme risks inherent in climbing the world's highest peak. The allure of Everest remains undiminished despite these challenges, a testament to its enduring place in the human imagination. Yet, as we continue to seek its summit, the darker aspects of Everest climbing compel us to confront hard questions about risk, responsibility, and the true cost of human ambition. In our quest to conquer the mountain, we must ensure that we do not lose sight of the values that make the endeavor worthwhile. Modern-day conquests and the future of Everest expeditions. In the decades since the historic first ascent of Mount Everest in 1953, the face of Everest expeditions has undergone profound transformation. Today, the mountain stands as a global icon, attracting a diverse array of climbers from seasoned mountaineers to affluent adventure seekers. However, as Everest has grown in popularity, it has also been subject to increased scrutiny and criticism. The present-day scenario of climbing Everest is dominated by commercial expeditions. These enterprises have made Everest accessible to a wider audience, requiring less climbing experience but more financial investment. A guided climb to the summit with a reputable company can cost between $30,000 to $100,000. This democratization of Everest, while allowing many to realize their dream of scaling the highest peak on Earth, has led to criticisms of mountain overcrowding. Images of traffic jams on the route to the summit have sparked debates about the sustainability and ethics of mass mountaineering on Everest. Another contemporary phenomenon is the pursuit of records. Climbers vied to be the youngest, oldest, fastest to summit, or to complete the most ascents, pushing the boundaries of human endurance. Some of these feats, while remarkable, have sparked controversies, with critics arguing that they contribute to a culture of risk-taking that can compromise safety. Technological advancements have also reshaped Everest expeditions. Drones are increasingly being used to capture high-resolution imagery of the mountain and to aid in search and rescue missions. Advances in weather prediction technologies have made forecasting more accurate, allowing teams to plan their summit attempts with greater precision. Lightweight and warmer clothing, more reliable oxygen delivery systems, and improved communication equipment have all contributed to increasing climbers' odds of success. Looking to the future of Everest expeditions, several trends and challenges emerge. The issue of overcrowding is likely to persist unless stricter regulations are enforced. Many experts argue for caps on the number of permits issued each year and more rigorous screening of climbers' fitness and mountaineering experience. There are also calls for higher environmental standards for expeditions, including stricter enforcement of waste disposal and increased support for cleanup initiatives. Another significant concern for the future is the impact of climate change on Everest. Rising temperatures are causing the glaciers and ice formations on the mountain to melt, which could make climbing routes more unstable and increase the risk of avalanches. This evolving landscape poses new challenges for the safety and sustainability of Everest expeditions. Regarding the Sherpa community, continued efforts are needed to improve working conditions, compensation, and insurance coverage. There is also a growing emphasis on empowering Sherpas by offering opportunities for advanced mountaineering and rescue training and leadership roles in expeditions. As we gaze into the future, the legacy and lure of Everest remain undiminished. Yet the mountain's future is inseparably tied to our ability to balance ambition with respect for this mighty peak and its guardians, the Sherpa community. As we continue our quest to scale its heights, we must strive to do so responsibly, ensuring that Everest continues to inspire and challenge generations to come. More information and facts, personal stories, and human interest angles. Embedded within the broader narrative of Mount Everest's conquest are countless individual stories that underscore the human dimensions of this grand adventure. These tales of ambition, courage, and resilience offer intimate insights into the myriad motivations and challenges that are integral to the Everest experience. Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay stand as titans in the pantheon of Everest climbers. Their successful summit on May 29, 1953, marks a historic milestone in human exploration. Yet their stories are as much about their humble origins and indefatigable spirit as they are about their lofty achievement. Hillary, a beekeeper from New Zealand, exemplified the spirit of adventure, making a daring traverse to the South Pole after Everest. Norgay, born to a family of yak herders, overcame humble beginnings to stand on top of the world. Their stories illustrate that Everest is not just a challenge for the body, but also a triumph of the human spirit. The narrative of Junko Tabee, the first woman to summit Everest in 1975, is another compelling tale. Facing societal expectations in Japan and hostility from some male climbers, Tabee's ascent was not only a mountaineering feat, but also a symbolic triumph over gender barriers. Her climb paved the way for subsequent generations of female mountaineers and became a beacon for gender equality in sports. The tale of Erik Weihenmayer, who became the first blind person to summit Everest in 2001, challenges notions of physical limitations. Weihenmayer's story demonstrates that with determination and the right support, even the most daunting obstacles can be overcome. His journey has inspired countless people with disabilities to push the boundaries of what is considered possible. The story of Beck Weathers, a survivor of the infamous 1996 Everest disaster, offers a sobering lesson in resilience. Left for dead in the death zone during a brutal storm, Weathers managed to descend to Camp IV under his own power despite severe frostbite and snow blindness. His miraculous survival and subsequent recovery remind us of the precarious nature of life on Everest and the astonishing strength of human will. Finally, the narratives of the Sherpas, the unsung heroes of Everest, offer a different perspective. One such tale is that of Appa Sherpa, who holds the record for the most Everest summits. Born in poverty in a small Nepalese village, Appa used his mountaineering skills to support his family. While his achievements are remarkable, his story also draws attention to the risks Sherpas undertake and the social circumstances that often drive them into this dangerous profession. These personal narratives, alongside many others, give depth to the history of Everest expeditions, painting a richly textured human portrait against the backdrop of this majestic mountain. They remind us that each attempt to conquer Everest is a deeply personal journey, fraught with danger, rich in emotion, and resonant with broader themes of ambition, courage, resilience, and sacrifice. Health risks and medical advances. Mount Everest's harsh and extreme environment poses significant health risks to climbers. Hypobaric hypoxia, extreme cold, wind, physical exertion, And the challenges of the high-altitude environment contribute to a variety of physiological issues, some of which can be fatal. These risks have spurred medical advancements aimed at improving survival chances and recovery for climbers, demonstrating the intersection of mountaineering and medical science. One of the primary challenges climbers face is hypobaric hypoxia, a condition resulting from the decreased availability of oxygen at high altitudes. This condition strains the body's systems and can lead to acute mountain sickness, AMS, a common ailment among climbers characterized by headaches, nausea, fatigue, and dizziness. If not managed effectively, AMS can progress into more serious and potentially fatal conditions: high-altitude cerebral edema, HACE, and high-altitude pulmonary edema, HAPE. AACE involves swelling of the brain, leading to confusion, loss of coordination, and possible unconsciousness. AAPE is fluid buildup in the lungs, which can cause breathlessness, even at rest, and a decreased consciousness level. Frostbite is another significant risk faced by Everest climbers due to the mountain's extreme cold conditions. This injury occurs when skin and underlying tissues freeze, typically affecting extremities like the fingers, toes, ears, and nose. Severe cases can lead to permanent damage and amputation. Over time, medical advances have evolved to address these risks. The use of supplemental oxygen, for example, has become standard practice for most climbers above 8,000 meters, the death zone, to combat hypoxia. While some purists argue that this represents an artificial aid, its value in terms of survival is indisputable. Early recognition and treatment of AMS, HACE, and HAPE have also improved significantly. Climbers today are better educated about these conditions and carry medications such as acetazolamide and dexamethasone to help prevent and treat symptoms. Meanwhile, portable hyperbaric chambers, which simulate conditions at lower altitudes, can be life-saving for treating severe AMS, HACE, or HAPE on the mountain. The treatment of frostbite has also evolved, with advanced insulating clothing and equipment reducing risk, and modern medical techniques improving treatment. Rewarming techniques, tissue plasminogen activator to break up blood clots, and new surgical approaches have increased the chances of saving frostbitten extremities. Yet, while medical advancements have undoubtedly improved survival rates and recovery on Everest, they also serve as a reminder of the inherent dangers of venturing into such an extreme environment. The reality remains that Mount Everest is located in a remote region where comprehensive medical aid is not readily available. Therefore, prevention, self-care, and timely decision-making are still crucial elements in the management of health risks on the mountain. As we consider the future of Everest expeditions, the ongoing interplay between mountaineering and medical science will be critical. Emerging technologies, such as telemedicine and advanced biometrics, offer exciting possibilities for managing health risks on Everest. As this dynamic field evolves, so too will our understanding of human endurance and resilience in the face of one of the planet's most formidable challenges. Cultural impact. Mount Everest, since its recognition as the world's highest peak, has held an immutable sway over the human imagination. It is not merely a geographical entity, but a cultural icon, shaping and being shaped by human culture in myriad ways. This cultural significance of Everest transcends the realm of mountaineering, permeating literature, cinema, documentaries, gaming, and beyond, fostering a global fascination with the mighty mountain. In literature, Mount Everest has been a captivating subject, with a broad range of books focusing on its exploration. Among the most prominent is Jon Krakauer's Into Thin Air, a first-hand account of the 1996 disaster that resulted in the deaths of 8 climbers. This gripping narrative provided readers with a deeply personal and tragic insight into the pursuit of summiting Everest. Another critical piece of Everest literature is The Conquest of Everest, written by Sir John Hunt, the leader of the successful 1953 expedition, offering an account of the meticulous planning, challenges, and triumph of this historic endeavor. The realm of cinema and documentaries, too, has been indelibly marked by the influence of Everest. Films like Everest, 2015, based on the 1996 disaster, and documentaries such as Sherpa, 2015, focusing on the Sherpas' perspectives, have brought the Everest experience to global audiences, humanizing the triumphs and tragedies associated with the mountain. These visual narratives have generated awareness about the harsh realities of Everest expeditions, influencing public perception and discourse about the ethics and risks involved in such ventures. Furthermore, Mount Everest has made its mark in the world of digital entertainment. In video games like Far Cry 4, a fictional Himalayan country serves as the backdrop, with Everest-like mountains as a significant part of the landscape. Virtual reality experiences, such as Everest VR, have taken this a step further, enabling users to simulate an Everest climb from the safety and comfort of their homes, signifying a new frontier in our engagement with the mountain. The cultural significance of Everest extends to areas such as branding and marketing, with its name symbolizing ultimate quality or challenge in various products and services. It's been used to endorse everything from bottled water to SUVs, suggesting purity, strength, and endurance. Yet, the cultural impact of Everest is not without its complexities and controversies. As much as it signifies human determination and achievement, it also raises questions about risk-taking, commercialization, and exploitation, particularly concerning the local Sherpa community. Everest, through its influence on popular culture, has come to represent a potent symbol of both human aspiration and folly. Everest Base Camps. Situated on the north and south sides of Everest, the base camps have served as fundamental elements in the endeavor to summit the world's highest peak. These base camps are not merely logistical staging points for climbers, but have evolved into dynamic, multi-dimensional spaces that are crucial to understanding the narrative of Mount Everest. The South Base Camp, located in Nepal at an altitude of 5,364 meters, and the North Base Camp, located in Tibet at an altitude of 5,150 meters, are the two primary gateways to the summit. The camps, though bereft of any permanent structures, become mini villages during the climbing season, teeming with climbers, guides, porters, cooks, and even some adventurous tourists. They serve as hubs for preparation, acclimatization, and respite, offering a transient sense of community in the inhospitable environment. Life at these base camps follows a routine marked by the rhythm of the mountain. Climbers spend a considerable amount of time here, acclimatizing to the altitude, checking equipment, planning routes, and waiting for favorable weather windows. Acclimatization typically involves several cycles of ascending to higher camps for short periods and returning to the base camp, allowing the body to adjust to the thinning air and lower oxygen levels. This slow and methodical acclimatization process is vital in preventing altitude sickness. From a logistical perspective, managing these base camps is a complex operation. Supplies, including food, cooking gas, climbing equipment, and medical kits, are typically carried in by porters or yaks. More recently, helicopters have been used for ferrying supplies to the South Base Camp. Ensuring that the necessary equipment and provisions are in place to sustain the climbers throughout their expedition is a task of paramount importance. Yet, amidst the harsh and challenging environment, base camps are also spaces where a unique sense of camaraderie blossoms. Here, individuals from diverse backgrounds, united by a shared dream, interact, share stories, exchange knowledge, and form bonds. In the evenings, the dining tents become social hubs where climbers gather to share meals, play cards, and forge friendships that often last long after the mountain has been descended. Furthermore, the base camps, particularly the South Base Camp in Nepal, have become destinations in their own right for trekkers who have no intention of climbing the mountain, but wish to experience the awe-inspiring vista and the thrill of being at the foot of the world's highest peak. This has added another dimension to these sites, making them not only the starting point of the arduous journey to the top, but also the end goal of a rewarding trek. The base camps are, thus, far more than mere launching pads for the ascent. They are vibrant microcosms encapsulating the entire spectrum of the Everest experience: the preparation, the anticipation, the waiting, the community, and the shared dreams. Each tent, each footprint, each fluttering prayer flag tells a story, adding to the rich tapestry of human endeavor associated with Mount Everest. Policy and governance. The governance and policies related to Everest ascents are complex and intertwined with national and international political dynamics, as the mountain straddles two countries, Nepal and China, via the Tibet Autonomous Region. Each nation maintains its own set of rules, regulations, and fee structures for climbers, with significant implications for the nature and conduct of Everest expeditions. In Nepal, the governance of Everest falls under the purview of the Ministry of Culture, Tourism, and Civil Aviation. The department issues climbing permits, sets regulations, and oversees the associated tourism infrastructure. The government of Nepal charges climbers a royalty fee for a climbing permit, a significant source of revenue for the country. As of my knowledge cutoff in 2021, the cost for a solo climber during the popular spring season was $11,000. However, most climbers join expeditions, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars per person when including support services like guides, porters, and equipment. Over the years, Nepal has faced criticism for issuing too many permits, contributing to overcrowding and increasing the risks on the mountain. In response to these concerns, there have been ongoing debates about implementing stricter regulations, including requiring climbers to prove their experience and fitness before being allowed to attempt Everest. On the north side, China controls access to Everest through the Tibet Mountaineering Association. In the past, China has occasionally closed the north side of Everest due to political events or to undertake cleanup operations. Fees here are higher than in Nepal, but they include a liaison officer and some infrastructure support. China has generally taken a more restrictive approach than Nepal in granting permits, leading to fewer climbers on the north side. Beyond the national level, international relations also play a role in Everest expeditions. Diplomatic tensions between Nepal and China have at times impacted climbing, as have larger geopolitical events. For instance, the entire 2020 climbing season was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, demonstrating how global events can impact Everest expeditions. Another critical aspect of policy and governance is the involvement of the local Sherpa community. Sherpas have long called for greater recognition of their rights, better working conditions, and a larger share of the revenue from climbing. These demands gained momentum following the 2014 avalanche that killed 16 Sherpa guides, leading to some improvements in their pay and insurance coverage. In summary, the governance of Everest is a complex mosaic of national policies, international relations, economic considerations, and local community rights. These elements continually interact and evolve, shaping the contours of Everest expeditions and influencing the ongoing narrative of the world's highest peak.